4 men. 1 overturned boat. 20 hours at sea. Before we begin, please like the video and subscribe if you enjoy it. It really helps small creators like me. The story opens in the middle of a nightmare. 4 men cling desperately to an overturned boat as a violent storm rages around them. Waves crash over their heads, rain lashes down, and the wind howls without mercy. They have already been lost at sea for 13 hours. Exhausted and terrified, they repeat a chant to keep themselves alive, reminding each other to stay strong and not give up now. This terrifying moment is the result of decisions made just a week earlier. The story begins in Florida. Nick works as a personal trainer at a high-level training camp where professional athletes come to push their limits. Among the people he trains are NFL players Marquis and Corey. Their workouts are intense, demanding strength, endurance, and discipline, but the atmosphere between them is relaxed. They tease each other, joke around, and clearly share a strong friendship that goes beyond training. One evening, the group gathers for dinner with their families. The night is warm and casual, filled with laughter and conversation. But the mood shifts when Nick's best friend, Will, arrives late. He looks distracted and tired. When he finally speaks, he admits he has just lost his job. The news hits hard. Will tries to act calm, but it's clear he's struggling. Seeing their friend in pain, the group immediately tries to lift his spirits. They talk, joke, and eventually invite him on a fishing trip planned for the following weekend. The invitation gives Will something to look forward to. He accepts, grateful for the distraction and the chance to escape his worries, even if only for a day. Saturday morning arrives quickly. Will shows up at Nick's place far too early, intentionally making noise until Nick wakes up. He bangs around the house, full of nervous energy. Once Nick is out of bed, Will takes over the kitchen and starts making sandwiches. He moves at incredible speed, preparing 40 sandwiches in record time, joking the entire time. It's clear he's excited about the trip. Nick and Will leave together and head to Marquis's home. When they finally see the boat, both of them pause. It's supposed to hold 11 people, but it looks smaller than expected. The thought lingers in the back of their minds, but no one voices serious concern. Inside Marquis's house, things are messy. Boxes are stacked everywhere. Marquis explains that he's preparing to move. His job is taking him to Oakland, but he doesn't want to go. There's no ocean there. For Marquis, the sea is more than water. The waves give him peace. They feel like home. But his career leaves him no choice. After saying goodbye to his family, the group heads to the pier. As they prepare to leave, they talk about the weather. They've heard there may be a storm later, but they convince themselves they'll be back before it reaches their area. To be safe, they seal their phones in plastic bags to protect them from water, even though they know they won't have service out at sea. Will still feels uneasy. Something doesn't feel right to him. Marquis reassures him, pointing out that the boat has a radio. With that comfort, they head out onto the open water. A few hours into the trip, Nick's mother wakes up at home and turns on the news. Her heart sinks when she sees reports about a developing storm. She immediately tries calling Nick, desperate to warn him. But Nick doesn't hear his phone. Out at sea, the men are talking, laughing, and playing music as they fish. They stay in one spot for a while before deciding to move farther out to try a new area. 4 hours into the trip, Corey finally catches a big fish. At the same time, Will's fishing line gets tangled on the boat, adding to the chaos. Nick begins feeling seasick. But once the nausea passes, he starts to understand why Marquis loves the ocean so much. The endless horizon calms him. He becomes thoughtful, almost philosophical. That's when they hear thunder. The sound is distant at first, but unmistakable. The sky darkens quickly. Heavy clouds roll in faster than expected. The mood on the boat changes instantly. They decide it's time to head back. Corey tries to pull up the anchor. It moves slightly, then gets stuck. All 4 men pull on the rope together, straining with everything they have. The anchor won't budge. As the thunder grows louder, they tie the rope to the boat. Marquis starts the engine and uses its power to drag the anchor loose. Instead, the boat tilts sharply. Water begins spilling inside. Marquis keeps trying, pushing the engine harder, but the anchor still won't move. Suddenly, a massive wave crashes into the boat. In an instant, all 4 men are thrown into the ocean. The water is violent and unforgiving. The current pulls them in different directions. They fight desperately to stay afloat, swallowing water as waves slam into them. After a terrifying struggle, they resurface and see that their boat has flipped upside down. Fighting against the waves, they reach the overturned boat and try to flip it back over. They push from different angles, but it won't move. Will suddenly realizes the anchor may still be holding the boat down. Marquis dives underwater while the others hold onto his clothes to keep him from drifting away. Underwater, Marquis rubs the rope against the propeller until it finally snaps. They try flipping the boat again. It still won't budge. Hours pass. 5 hours into the ordeal, they are still clinging to the boat. Marquis remembers that there are life vests inside. Swimming is becoming harder because his clothes are soaked. Ignoring Nick's warnings about staying warm, Marquis removes some layers. He dives down and opens the hatch to search for the vests. Water rushes inside, making the boat heavier. The others panic, afraid it will sink completely. Just in time, Marquis closes the hatch and resurfaces with one vest. Will dives next and retrieves the rest of the vests. Marquis dives again and brings up flares. Corey dives to look for food but can't see anything and comes back empty-handed. Then they spot a ship in the distance. They scream. They light a flare. Hope surges through them. The ship keeps moving. It never sees them. Crushed but determined to stay sane, the men joke with each other, using humor to fight fear. Nick dives again, using a flare for light, and finds the bag with their phones. He brings it up. Everyone tries calling 911. There's no signal. On land, Nick's wife grows worried when he doesn't return. She calls Nick's mother. Together, they agree something is wrong and decide to ask for help. At the pier, a police officer finds an abandoned car with an empty boat trailer. The Coast Guard is alerted. Back at sea, the storm grows worse. Back at sea, the storm continues to worsen. The waves grow taller and more violent, repeatedly throwing the men off balance. Even with life vests on, it takes enormous effort to swim back to the overturned boat each time they are knocked into the water. Their muscles ache, their hands are numb, and their bodies are already beginning to lose heat. Marquis starts shaking uncontrollably. His teeth chatter, and his movements slow. Nick immediately recognizes the danger. He reminds Marquis that they have to stay together, that separating or giving up will only make things worse. Corey and Will help pull Marquis back onto the boat, doing everything they can to keep him stable. For a brief moment, the rain slows. The men look up, hoping the storm might finally be passing. They cling to the boat, exhausted but encouraged by the pause in the downpour. Then another massive wave rises in the distance. It crashes into them with brutal force, throwing all 4 men back into the ocean. For several terrifying moments, they are separated. The darkness, thunder, and crashing water make it impossible to see or hear each other. Panic sets in as each man struggles to stay afloat. Eventually, Corey spots the silhouette of the overturned boat and manages to climb back onto it. From there, he shouts, helping the others find their way back. One by one, they reunite on top of the hull. Marquis reveals that he has cut his leg and is losing strength. His movements are slower now, and his words begin to slur. Another wave hits, dragging them under once more. When they resurface, it has been nearly 10 hours since the boat flipped. Corey tries to motivate the group, speaking loudly and confidently, reminding them of their families and telling them that they will survive this. But Marquis grows weaker. He says quietly that if he's going to die, it might as well be at sea. Nick refuses to accept that. He grabs Marquis and forces him to focus, telling him to think about his daughter and his family. He tells him that they are not done yet. Marquis listens, but his eyes begin to drift. Soon, Marquis starts hallucinating. He speaks as if his daughter is right there with them. The others realize hypothermia has fully taken hold. They surround Marquis, pressing close to share body heat. One of the men lights another flare, holding it near him, hoping the warmth will help. Time drags on. The rain returns. Marquis repeatedly slips into the water. Each time, the others pull him back up. During one struggle, Marquis accidentally punches Will in the face, knocking him into the ocean. Nick reacts instantly, grabbing Will and hauling him back onto the boat. Corey wraps his arms around Marquis, holding him tightly, trying to keep him still. But Marquis's mind is no longer clear. He slips off the boat again, and once more, they work together to bring him back. On land, the situation escalates. At the Coast Guard office, reports come in from worried families. The abandoned car and empty boat trailer confirm the worst fears. Captain Timothy reviews the information and upgrades the situation from an alert to a full distress case. Search aircraft are launched. Helicopters and planes sweep across the water, scanning miles of open sea, calculating currents and drift patterns. Every minute matters. Back at sea, the storm finally begins to weaken. The waves settle slightly, and the wind eases. But the men are beyond exhausted. Their bodies are drained, and their minds struggle to stay focused. Marquis slips again. This time, when he falls into the water, he barely fights. Nick and Corey pull him back onto the boat, but his body is limp. His speech is slow and confused, drifting between reality and memory. Nick knows how serious this is. They huddle together as tightly as possible, pressing their bodies together to conserve heat. Will lights the last flare and holds it high, hoping someone will see the glow in the distance. Hours pass in silence. Then the sky begins to change. The darkness fades, and the sun slowly rises over the horizon. Daylight brings a small but powerful surge of hope. The ocean looks calmer now, less threatening than it did during the night. The men scan the horizon. Then they hear it. At first, it's faint. A distant sound, barely noticeable. But it grows louder. A helicopter. Nick looks up, shielding his eyes from the rising sun. The sound becomes unmistakable. He screams with everything he has left. Will waves his arms wildly. Corey fires the final flare into the sky. The helicopter changes direction. It's coming toward them. Relief crashes over the group. Nick collapses against the boat, overwhelmed. Corey laughs and cries at the same time. Will keeps shouting, terrified that the helicopter might still miss them. But it doesn't. The Coast Guard has found them. Rescue swimmers drop into the water and swim toward the overturned boat. They quickly assess the situation and focus on Marquis, who is barely conscious. He is secured first and lifted into the helicopter. One by one, the others are pulled from the water. As Nick is lifted, he looks down at the battered boat that kept them alive. Scarred and broken, it never let them go. All 4 men are taken to safety. At the hospital, doctors confirm how close they came to dying. Hypothermia, dehydration, and exhaustion push them to the edge. Marquis remains in critical condition but survives. In the days that follow, the story spreads quickly. 4 men lost at sea, a violent storm, an overturned boat, more than 20 hours of survival against impossible odds. The media focuses on the fact that 2 of the men are NFL players. But those who lived through it know the truth. Out there, titles and fame meant nothing. They were simply 4 human beings fighting to stay alive. The men reunite with their families, holding them tightly, overwhelmed by gratitude. What began as a simple fishing trip became the most terrifying experience of their lives. They survived because they stayed together, because they refused to give up on one another, and because, even when the ocean tried to take everything from them, they chose to fight. Thanks for watching. Please consider liking the video and subscribing if you enjoyed the content.